Hi everyone, I'm Carol Keller, an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Illinois, and I have today 6 alternative cards to this month's paper pumpkin kit, which is called Nests of Winter. If you make my alternatives the way I show you today, you will use up all of the components that come with the kit, and you will make 30 cards from that kit. You just need a few extra supplies, one of which is the Merry Tags and More dies that are the companion dies to this month's kit as well as next month's and the following months. We will also use 2 different ribbons and 2 other embellishments. The 6th component is a punch, and you'll only need that if you want to turn any of the cards into gift card holders, because I'm going to show you how to do that with the first card. All right, let's get started. Here are the components of the kit. As always now, there is a little insert that you can use to either store your stamps or, as I do, use it for keeping track of which stamps come with which set so that you can use what you have. I love that. I love doing that. Comes with a shaded spruce ink spot and, of course, the instructions. Remember, always double check. Make sure you have everything. Reach out to Stampin' Up! If you don't. These are the companion dies, which I will bring in to show you. We're going to be using those today. One of only 4 components extra that I'm using to make these cards. So these are the dies, and we're going to be using 2 of them. So let's get started with the first card. Here is the first card that I designed today. I used every component in the kit, like I said. We are making 30 cards, so 6 different card designs I have for you today. So like I said, here's the first one. For all of them, I started with a basic white card base. Love making those card bases that come with the kit go a little farther. And for this one, we are using the back panel from one of the cards, and it is a little shorter than 4 1/4. So if I measure it here, I don't know if you can see the bottom of this, maybe not, but it's just under 4 1/4. So I had a dilemma. I thought about cutting it down to 4 by 5 1/4, but I didn't want to do that because then I'm going to lose some of this beautiful foiling. So you can see it's a little bit shorter. And so what I'm going to do is just bring in my trimmer and trim the card base down. So I did that with both of the cards that use the back panel. Let me see if that's enough, because actually I'm thinking it might not be. Let's see. Yeah, that'll work. All right. So then it's the right size. So that's all I had to do. So I'm going to put that on the card front with my multi-purpose liquid glue. All right. Then while that's drying, we will do some stamping. So I'm going to grab one of the labels from the kit. That one, making sure it's the right one, and the word Christmas stamp that comes with the kit. We're going to stamp that in Night of Navy, so I thought that was a good way to bring the background color in. Okay. You do have 1 extra of each of the 2 labels that come with the kit. So if you make a little boo-boo, like this is a little bit low, so normally I would probably restamp it, and I'm not going to, and that's because I already used one of the labels because I changed this one out. So I'm gonna live with that. Oh, why we have the Night of Navy though? Oh, I used green, okay. I am gonna use Night of Navy though to do the inside. I actually changed my mind after I added some components to the inside. So there's a wonderful sentiment for the inside or the outside that says joyful thoughts to you this season. So I'm going to use that on the inside. And then we're going to switch to shaded spruce. We're going to do the leaf that comes with the kit, and we're going to do it on both, whoops, little hair there, both the label and the inside. And so I just put it in the corner like this. Let that dry a little bit just in case. And then the same thing with this. So I did find I had the stamp all over my fingers, and I still don't quite know how it got there. And this I'm going to do like that to lay it across the label. And I will show you why. Let's clean that up first. Love my mat and the way you can stamp right on it. So, another hair. They're all over the place today. Then I also have just one little bit of stamping on the inside. So let me grab Real Red for that. I just took the little berry stamp and put that down at the bottom. And I thought about coloring them in, but the problem is if you do that, it's going to show through on the back. But that is all of our stamping for this card. While I do have the inside, I'm going to show you how I use the die, one of the dies from the add-on set, to make a gift card holder. So I cut it out, and what I did was I put it at the edge. I'll show you. Let me grab the die. It's meant to be used as a tag, and I didn't want that part. So when I put it over my Shaded Spruce cardstock, I put this at the edge so that it wouldn't cut. And so you can see there's just a little bit that goes over. So I couldn't get it to be perfect, and I'm gonna fix that by just giving this a little snip with my, oh no, actually it doesn't matter. You don't have to use your paper snips because this is why we needed to punch. I've got a 1 3/4 inch circle punch, and I am just taking a little bit off, making sure that it's centered. And so then that goes, or creates a way to take the gift card out of the, out of this little section. So that's gonna go up here. And I did find two, let me grab a gift card and show you. This is not much bigger or wider than the gift card. So we need very little ink here, here, and here. So you can use your multi-purpose liquid glue. I would just make sure that the bead of glue is very, very small. You can also use your fine tip glue pen. That would work very well. I'm having all sorts of little pieces of things here today. But what I did was I had some leftover tear and tape from another kit. I don't remember which one. And I decided to use this. So you could use any of those options. Multi-purpose liquid glue, fine tip glue, or this tear and tape if you still have it. I keep all of mine together, all of my tear and tape. I pull them out of the kits, and that's why I have it. So we're gonna put it right along the edge. As close to that edge as possible. And then the same thing here. And here. Whoops, a little long. That's all right, I'll just fold that little bit back. I'm gonna grab my take your pick tool. And so that little piece of adhesive that's hanging off the edge, I'm just gonna fold it in. And that should be fine. Whoops, that is not adhered. There we go. And I'm going to take my gift card holder. You can put it in either way, but I'm left-handed, so I'm going to do it the left-handed way. And we're going to burnish those edges. And now that gift card should just fit in there. So you do have to lift it up a little bit. There we go. So it is a tight fit. I think that's ink. But it does fit, and you can even push it down a little more. So, but it will fit in there as long as you're very careful about how close to the edge you put your adhesive. And so that's the inside. Couple other components I use for the outside. I use, again, one of the dies from that add-on set and cut out the word Mary. And then I have a piece of ribbon that also comes with the kit. So the first thing I'm going to do is adhere this to the back of the tag. And I'm going to use a little bit, I wanted to show a little bit less. I'm going to use about half. About like that, I think is good. Make sure it's straight on there, which it's not. There we go. And I am going to snip off this little edge this time. And the reason that I stamped the leaf like that is it's going to overlap with this branch. So I put it over to the side like that, so it looks like it's an extension of that. I'm actually going to use the tear and tape that comes with the kit because I want that ribbon to stay put. I'm going to put some of that on the back and use my seal for the rest, for the other part. Same thing, I'm going to take the, let's see if I can get, I like my tool, my take your pick tool for this. And so this, again, overlapping the branch, maybe about like that. And then I used an adhesive sheet on the back of my Real Red before I ran it through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So I just have to take that paper off. And we're gonna lay this over here. Got a little piece of paper on me still. And then what you want to do is start from one end and just let the letters fall naturally, and then they should line up okay. Let's see. This one is a little bit off, I think. Whoops. And then burnish once you're happy with the placement so that it stays on there. And for the last little bit of bling, I'm using the Cherry Cobbler and Pearl Adhesive Back Berries. And I believe, whoops, I lost one. Let's put that back on there. I believe these are an online exclusive. So I just took one of the three together and put it right here at the end of that branch. And so that is card number 1. Here is the second card I designed, and it uses 2 components from the kit. So again, I'm starting with a basic white card base. This is the middle panel from one of the cards. And it is the same size as the card front, so I don't have to do any cutting down. But one thing I am going to do is just flatten. You can see there's a little ridge here where it was scored, and I want to kind of get rid of that. So to do that, I'm just going to use my bone folder to flatten it out, doing it on both sides, and then you won't even be able to see it. I don't think anyone would notice it anyway, but if you're worried, that's how you take care of it. So I'm going to grab my multi-purpose liquid glue. Actually, it's like, wait, I did the wrong side. No, I didn't. It's got a little ridge on both sides because it is the center panel. So we'll do both sides. See, I didn't even notice that one at first, which kind of proves my point there. But we'll put some multi-purpose liquid glue on the back. And then we'll move that aside to dry for a little bit. And now I have the cutout that comes from the main panel of one of the cards. And you can see I use that same Mary die to cut out the word Mary from the top center. And then we're going to do some stamping on this. So I think first I'm going to do the word Christmas. And I think on here I did it in Night of Navy, but I'm going to use Shaded Spruce just because this one is more of a tone-on-tone card. So we're going to use the same color palette. And actually, I'm going to work from top down instead. I'm going to do the leaves and then the Christmas and then the bottom leaves. Because like I said yesterday when I was designing these cards, I ended up with shaded spruce and the leaf outline all over me, and I don't know why. So I want to make sure that I don't smear it. That would be a disaster. So if you saw my video last month, this is similar to that. It's got a similar feel. I'm just stamping around the edges like this. And like this. And I'm going to clean that up before I do any more. So again, we don't want any mishaps. But I do love the way this cleans up. All right, so now we're going to stamp the word Christmas underneath the word Merry. Again, using shaded spruce. And then we're going to grab that leaf stamp one more time and do the same thing on the bottom that we did on the top. And clean it up once more. And then that is the last of the stamping. We're gonna do this. That is the last of the stamping, and then we're gonna put on some ribbon. So for this, I use the iridescent stripe trim. I'm gonna grab a glue dot. And put it here. And I'm thinking yesterday, this is where I went wrong with the ink, with the stray ink on my fingers, because these may not have been dry, but I'm not sure. Snip the end. Grab another glue dot. Put it on the back. Yep, that is where I went wrong. It's not quite dry, and luckily it didn't really smudge anything. So I'm gonna wash my hands and be right back. Hopefully that's dry now, but just in case, I am going to stamp the inside. So again, I used Night of Navy, but I'm gonna use shaded spruce for both on the inside. So we'll move that over there. Sometimes the darker colors just take longer to dry. So that's something to be aware of, and set things aside if you need to so you don't end up with a disaster. So that would be bad. Same sentiment on the inside as for the first card. And I did the same thing with the leaf stamp on the edge here. Clean up one more time. And I'm going to leave this to dry a little bit while I put adhesive on the back of this. And I used my multi-purpose liquid glue because I wanted it over the bottom part, at least over the ribbon, because it's really important to make sure that that stays flat. Sometimes if I use my seal and the ribbon is too close to the bottom, it'll pop up, and the glue takes care of that. Plus it helps the ribbon adhere. And then besides doing the edges, you want to put some glue on these little pieces here to help them stay down. Trying to just get a little tiny bit. Again, your fine tip glue pen works nicely for this too. All right, we're gonna turn this over and put it on the front at a little bit of an angle, like that. So hopefully this is, it is still wet, holy cow. So I'm gonna do this because I don't want to smudge. Maybe because it's warm today, it's taking a very long time to dry. So again, beware of that because I have, you can see ink all over me. So I'm gonna wash my hands one more time and be right back. All right, and I actually used my heat tool and set all the ink so it should be fine inside and outside. So that's another way to make sure that it's not going to smudge. And I forgot to say too, that when you cut out the letters, you're gonna save the letters you cut out. We're gonna use those on another card. And I also saved the little pieces for the Y and the E. You can hardly even see that one for the E. So we're gonna put this aside for the next card. And then I'm gonna take my multi-purpose liquid glue again and do just a little tiny dot here. Whoops, there we go. And a little one here. The nice thing is that you don't need much to hold those pieces in place, but it is challenging. We're gonna start with the bigger one and just place it in there. I thought about using my tweezers, but I think my fingers work better for getting it where I want it to be. Like that. And then the same thing with this. We're gonna give it a try. It is very, very small. So if you don't have it, I don't think anybody will necessarily notice, but if you're like me and you want it to be sort of perfect, then this is what you need. Of course, now I can't get it. There we go. Let's see. As always, I did it fine in the practice. There it goes, I think, yes. It's all upended. So I'm just moving it over where the glue is and then adjusting it like that. All right, that looks good. And so that's how you solve that problem. And hopefully I don't have too much ink on me. Hopefully it's all dry. The last thing we need to do with the ribbon is grab it one more time. And we're gonna just tie a knot over on one side. And we're gonna do a square knot to make sure that it stays put. Let me see. There we go. And then do it the other way. And we'll give it a little snip at an angle. And then the same thing on this side. And you can kind of play with that and, you know, twist it whichever way you would like. Then last but not least, some bling. And I thought I would pick up the white and give the impression of snowflakes. So I'm using my Iridescent Pearls Basic Jewels. I have some that I started, so I think I'll just use the small ones. That's what I have. I had some bigger ones that I used on the first card, and then I have another whole package, but I'm going to use these first. So I'll just use the small ones. And again, kind of draw your eye around the card a little bit. And here. And up here. And that is card number 2. Here's the third card that I designed. And again, you can see it uses 2 components, or no, 1 component, I'm sorry, from the card base, and then some other components, some die cuts that come with the kit, as well as that word Mary. So I'm going to bring that out again. That comes right from that piece that we cut out, that die that we cut out for the last card, and a couple components. We'll bring those out as well. This is one of the fronts, card fronts from the kit, and then a basic white card base. So the front and the middle are the same size as the card base, so I'm just going to double check that, but it should be fine. And it is. So I'm going to take my multi-purpose liquid glue again, and I'm going to go around the outside of the card and around the inside here. and I've got a little bit of glue on the inside, but we're going to be covering that with a die cut. It's right down here, so it should be okay. And I think we will lay those pieces out first because we want to know where that word Christmas is going to go. So I did not, there are dimensionals in the kit, but I think I only used them on one of the cards. I used my seal or my glue for most of the components. I think I used dimensionals only on the last card, but obviously if you want to bump something up, go right ahead and do that. Put this right here and it will cover that glue, which is good. And so you could bump the card, and maybe we will. We'll try that. We'll bump it up. Well, I'm not going to do it, and this is why. Because I have to stamp that word Christmas, I don't want it to be too high, the cardinal, and get in the way and goof it up. So I'm not going to do that. I'll just use my seal. The other thing you could do if you want to use dimensionals is just lay the cardinal down, do your stamping, and then bump it up after the fact, after you stamp. And so the word Mary is going to go up here. And so that gives me a good sense of where the placement should be too. So I'm going to bring in Real Red, since that coordinates with the color in the cardinal, and grab the stamp that says Christmas and ink it up. So I think I want it about here. Whoops. Let me move that up just a little bit, but I'll put it here. And then let's see, for the inside, we did same thing, that Joyful Thoughts of the Season, and again in the Real Red. We may have the same issue with the red not drying as quickly, but hopefully it will be all right. I'm going to leave that Real Red out because, as you can see, I stamped the leaf and the berries again. So I'm going to bring in Shaded Spruce. And then the berries. And that is all of our stamping. I'm going to leave that open to dry a little bit. Hopefully we won't have any disasters. And then I don't have an adhesive sheet on the back of this because I just cut it out from that one panel. So I'm just going to use little dabs of my multi-purpose liquid glue. And again, the fine tip glue pen is the perfect adhesive for this also. I just don't have any at the moment. And so I'm using my multi-purpose liquid glue instead. Set that here, same thing, just kind of follow each letter individually, and usually that makes it straight. And then for this one I didn't use any bling, but you certainly could. But that is, whoops, card number 3. Here is the 4th card that I designed, and this one also uses one of the components, the frame from one of the card fronts. So I'm going to bring that in, as well as the other components that I used from the kit, the other die cuts, which are these. And basic white card base again. And I'm going to tell you, I'm a little bit fearful about stamping the leaves to have the same problem as before. It's warm here, and I think that's why it's just a little bit maybe humid, and so it's taking longer to dry. I'm not sure. But we are going to put this on with multi-purpose liquid glue. Let me make sure. I always double check to make sure that nothing needs to be cut down. There's occasionally that seems like I think it's better now, but when the basic white first came out, it seemed to me a little bit longer than what Whisper White was. And so I would have to cut it down a little bit, but I've not been finding it lately. I think they've fixed the problem, but I always double check anyway, just in case. All right, and I just screwed it up. Stamp first and then put it down. But I am still gonna stamp. I think what I'll do is just grab some Post-it notes and kind of mask off a little bit. Oh my goodness. Luckily I've got some handy, so I'm just gonna do this. And we're only stamping the top, so hopefully it will not be a problem. So before you put the frame on, do your stamping. Don't do what I did. All right, let me grab Shaded Spruce. I think that's why I'm so worried about this getting on my fingers again or smudging something that I wasn't thinking. Same as with the other card. Ooh, that is why it can be challenging. All right, not too bad, a little smudgy. But that's why it can be challenging to use a mask. You really want to get good pressure so that at the edges especially, it inks. All right, so that's that one. And then we'll just move it over to the other side. Like that. And that's why I'm not overlapping the Post-it notes, because I don't want extra thickness there. And then I'm going to do something similar. This one I'm just going to cover up. We're going to overlap that. Give it a good press. And then it covers up my mistake, hopefully. And then one like that. All right. Usually a way to fix your mistake. So while we've got the Shaded Spruce, we're going to stamp the word Merry. And this comes with the kit. And I'm just going to make sure I do it toward the top. And then the word Christmas in the Real Red. And on the inside, same thing. I did the Real Red for the sentiment, and I stamped a couple of leaves. So I'm going to do, I think I'm going to bring in the Real Red. We'll finish the front with the word Christmas. And that will go here. So it's got a little bit of overlap this time, but I like it because I didn't want it too far away from the word Merry. So then our stamping on the outside is done. And for the inside, we'll use that Real Red first for the sentiment. Move these over here. So we're done with the Real Red. And then yes, these for the outs or for the top. And I just did 3 all together this time. 2 on one side. And then 1 on the other side. So then the inside is done. And for the outside, I'm gonna grab my bone folder. But I am purposely not touching those the spots where I've inked, because we don't want a disaster, like I said. So this piece is going to go toward the bottom, and I thought about inking behind so that you could still see the leaves, and I thought, oh, it's such a small space, I don't think it's going to matter, so I didn't do it. And I'm just using my seal for this. And we'll put it toward the bottom. And then the bird goes here. And on this one, I actually stamped the word Christmas with the bird laying down, but before I adhered it, and I got part of the C on there, but it worked. So this time we're just gonna set it over to the side a little bit. say, we could even tuck them behind. No, I think we'll put them on top. And we'll do that. So those, I want those berries to peek out a little bit. So maybe like this. You know what? I think I'm going to cut this down. The white part here. I did that on, you'll see one of the upcoming cards. And then that way I can get a better placement. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go all the way up from here. So that whole side is a little narrower. So that it doesn't look funny. Yes, and then more of those berries show, which is what I want, but it doesn't cover up the word Christmas. And we can even maybe, let's see. No, I think we'll do it like that. I like those berries peeking through. And then of course, same thing as the first card. We're using the Cherry Cobbler and Pearl Adhesive Back Berries to give another pop of red. Just like that. And that is card number 4. Here is the 5th card I designed. And again, using 2 components from the card bases. So I'm going to bring those out. This is the center panel, and then the cutout from the panel of the first panel of the other card, and then this. And this I also fussy cut, which I'll show you in a minute. We're going to use that bone folder though to get rid of some of these creases on the edges. Since this is the center panel, it of course has some on each side, a crease on each side. And I've got my basic white card base. Make sure it's gonna fit. And then put on my multi-purpose liquid glue. And this one I decided to turn this way because I knew that this would fit here. And so we'll put this on next with some seal. And putting it way over to the left. And I use the other label now for the sentiment on this card. And I decided to change it up and used what I've been using for the inside on the outside, because of course that works too. Grabbing my Real Red ink pad again. And then for the inside, Merry Christmas, and I did it in the 2 colors. So while I have the red, I will do the word Christmas. And we'll use Shaded Spruce for the word Merry. And I think that's all I did on the inside, yes. So the inside is done and all of our stamping is done. And I ended up, like I said, cutting this down because I thought it looked funny to have the bird all sort of up away from the branches. And that's because you use the other bird and you lay it on top of this one, so it sort of covers that space up. But because we used that already on another card, I just cut around the bird. And I did cut around the whole thing, so I'm going to do that again. Just made it a little closer, a little less white space. But you don't have to. But of course you don't have to if you don't want to. You could just leave it and just cut it out of here. But then I did the same thing on this part. Just cut it a little closer. And I did cut around a little more closely, but I'm not going to do that this time. so you can see what the difference is. It's not really that much difference, but yes, there's a little more white space here and here that I cut out of the other one. So either way. So for this one, we're going to use Seal, again, to put this on the card front. Down toward the bottom and over to the left, like that. And for that, we'll put the bird on in a second because I did bump him up with dimensionals, or her. And then we're going to use the ribbon because there are 10 pieces. We can get 5 for each of the 2 cards that we're using it on. And I did the same thing again. Put my seal on the back and overlapped it. And this time we'll leave it so you can see. I snipped the last end off on the last card, but this time I'm going to leave it. Maybe I don't want the overlap on the left though. I think I'm going to do it right up to the edge. I like that better. Let's try this again. Yeah, I like that better. So either way, you can snip it off or not. And then I'm going to use the tape for the ribbon again to hold that nice and snug on the card. And add some seal on this end. And that goes up toward the top. I think I'm going to move it down just a little bit from what I did before. And then for the bird, like I said, I bumped it up with dimensionals, and there are some with the kit. Take the paper off and then place it right here in the middle, about like that. Whoops. Last but not least, we're adding some more of the pearls. And I did use, I guess I used one of the larger ones because that's what I had left on here. And I'm going to use all the small ones again. Help use them up a little bit. But obviously you can use whichever size you prefer. And there's card number 5. All right, last but not least, I used the last component. I was only going to do 5 cards, and then I decided, once I realized that this was the only piece left, I thought, all right, we've got to use it. So you can see this one has a very different look from some of the other cards. And I started with a basic white card base, and because this is the back panel, it's shorter, so I did cut it down already, and that's why it's folded. And I'm going to put this on with my multi-purpose liquid glue again. Actually, first we're going to do this. And I do have a little edge here. I might trim that off, but I'll do that after the fact. All right, so for our stamping, this time I've got a scrap of basic white, just a little random scrap, and I'm bringing in Memento Black because we have to stamp that cardinal, even though you already see the finished product. And actually, I'm going to do it this way to make sure I've got good ink on that cardinal. And we're going to stamp it here, because I could not finish my cards without stamping that beautiful cardinal. All right, and then I colored it in, and I followed the same design as the cardinal that comes pre-die cut with the kit. So I'm using light pumpkin pie for the beak and dark balmy blue for the eye. And again, just kind of following how it was done in the die cut. Then light real red for the body. And I won't do the whole thing, but just so you get a sense. I did it all around. And I'll do the wings so that I can show you how I shaded. Then I took my dark real red, and with the bullet end, I just shaded where it was dark. Again, just similarly to how it was shaded on the die cut. And then also over here. And then on the tail. Then color the rest in with the light. And then for the claws, I used light basic black, which was still kind of dark. So I ended up cutting them off, and even I left it on here so it would look like it was sitting on the branch, but I think I like it better without. So you can do it either way, and you'll see both on the card. But then I fussy cut this very close to the edge without leaving any white space when I was done with the coloring. And so this was the end result. For the tag, this is the die that comes with that add-on. And I left it as a tag this time. We're going to put some ribbon on there, as you can see. And so I stamped the Merry Christmas. Mary is in shaded spruce. So we'll bring that back in. And those leaves, of course, I do really like them, even though they take a long time to dry. So I started at one end and then overlap just a little bit, and then a third one up here. And then on the inside, I did Joyful Thoughts of the Season. And actually we're done with this though, because I did it in Night of Navy, same as the word Christmas. So we'll bring in Night of Navy. And we'll do the word Christmas. And it really just kind of barely fits across. So that one's a little bit off, but you get the idea. It was better on this one. And then our same sentiment for the inside. So we'll move this aside, bring this in. And then I stamped the cardinal in black one more time. And then the inside is done. And before we put the tag on then, I put some ribbon on it, and I used the Night of Navy and Gold glittered ribbon. So, and it is, I may move the tag up this time. I left it, I put it down toward the bottom because the ribbon was so long, but I think I'm gonna cut it down and move the tag up. And it is, I was a little concerned about this tearing, so that's why it's a little bit bulky. You could also try maybe the white striped ribbon that the iridescent ribbon that we used for an earlier card, but I wasn't sure if it would work. So we will try this one. I just cut a length. And then folded it and put it through the loop. And then put the tails through that loop. And so then here, when you're pulling it, is where it might tear. And I suppose if it did, it wouldn't be that big a deal because nobody's gonna see it, but I really didn't want it to tear, so I'm doing it very carefully. And so because of that, it's just not as tight as normal. So I am gonna cut the tails down. Make them a little shorter. And put it up this way. So I just put that on with my seal. And this time we'll do it more centered. And so I can still cut this down even more if I want to. And then I did use dimensionals on the cardinal. And then he's gonna go right here on the branch. And so again, I may play with this a little more to make it just a little tighter, but if not, you know, if I'm worried that it's gonna tear, then I just won't do it. And I may even snip this just a little shorter. But that is it. That is card number 6. So let me bring in all of the cards. Here's card number 5 and number 4. Or this is 4, I think this is 3 and 2, and card number 1. And again, you saw all the components that I used, the dies and the 2 different ribbons, and then the embellishments, the pearls and the adhesive backed berries. So I guess 2 ribbons, 2 embellishments, and the dies. So 5 things. All right, thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate you watching every single month. Leave me some love in the comments and check out some of my other videos. I do cards, other cards, lots of them, scrapbook pages, home decor items, tips and techniques, and beginner videos. So hopefully you'll find something there that's useful. Take care, everyone, and I will see you again soon. Happy stamping.